An old man in torn clothes walked into Chase Bank, dragging a heavy sack behind him. "This bank belongs to me," he said. People burst out laughing. The workers rolled their eyes. Security moved in to throw him out. But then he opened the sack. What they saw inside made everyone freeze. The laughter stopped. Eyes widened. Even the bank manager's hands started shaking. Before we continue, like this video and subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. The air was thick with the scent of freshly brewed coffee, and the sound of clicking keyboards and hushed conversations filled the opulent hall of the Lincoln Savings and Trust Bank in downtown Chicago. The bank, one of the city's oldest and most prestigious financial institutions, was bathed in the soft glow of crystal chandeliers hanging from the high ceilings. Marble pillars lined the vast room, exuding an aura of power and privilege. The clientele, mostly well-dressed business professionals, moved with an air of entitlement, flashing their expensive watches and leather briefcases as they conducted their transactions. It was just another Monday morning at Lincoln Savings and Trust, until the doors swung open and an old man stepped inside. At first, no one paid him much attention. He was just another vagrant, another forgotten soul wandering the city streets. He looked out of place in such an establishment. His clothes were tattered and frayed at the edges, his boots scuffed and barely held together. A long, wiry gray beard obscured most of his face, and his sunken eyes told the story of someone who had weathered many storms. He shuffled forward, gripping a large, battered sack slung over his shoulder. The sack bulged at odd angles, its contents hidden from view. It was stained, old, and worn from years of use. Behind the counter, Jessica Holloway, a young white teller in her mid-20s, raised an eyebrow as she noticed him approaching. She instinctively wrinkled her nose. The man smelled of earth and time, of someone who had spent too many nights out in the cold. "Excuse me, sir," she said, forcing a polite but firm tone. "Are you lost?" The old man stopped in front of the counter, slowly setting his sack down with an audible thump. "No," he rasped. "I'd like to make a deposit." A smirk tugged at Jessica's lips. She exchanged amused glances with her co-worker, a young man named Derek. "A deposit?" she repeated, suppressing a chuckle. "Sir, this is a private bank. We don't handle small change. Maybe you're looking for a check-cashing place." The old man's lips curled into a knowing smile. "I ain't got small change." He reached into his sack and pulled out a single, gleaming gold bar. It landed on the counter with a dull thud. Silence. Jessica's amusement vanished instantly. Derek blinked. The security guard, who had been keeping a lazy eye on the scene from near the entrance, straightened his posture. Jessica hesitated before reaching for the gold bar. It was heavy, much heavier than she had expected. Her fingers trembled as she turned it over, her breath catching when she saw the markings engraved on it. It was authentic. Jessica cleared her throat. I'm going to need to call my manager." The old man nodded. "You go right ahead." Mr. Richard Daniels, the bank's manager, was a stout man in his late 40s. He prided himself on his no-nonsense attitude, his crisp navy blue suit, and his ability to spot a con artist from a mile away. When Jessica called in the front desk and hurriedly whispered about an old man carrying gold, Daniels rolled his eyes. "You're telling me some homeless guy just waltzed in here with gold?" he scoffed, following her back to the counter. But the moment he laid eyes on the gleaming bar, his expression shifted from skepticism to curiosity. Daniels picked up the bar, inspecting it closely. He had handled gold before, but this was old, almost antique, and yet it was in perfect condition. "Where'd you get this?" he asked, his voice carrying a sharper edge now. The old man chuckled. "Oh, I got plenty more where that came from." Daniels narrowed his eyes. "What's your name?" The old man dusted off his coat as if preparing to make an important declaration. "Jeremiah Thompson." Daniels frowned. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but he couldn't place it. "And you're saying you want to deposit this gold?" Jeremiah nodded. "That's right, and I expect the same courtesy you give your other high-value clients." Daniels let out a humorless chuckle. "Mr. Thompson, we don't just take deposits of this nature without verifying the source. Frankly, I find it hard to believe that you came by this gold legally." Jeremiah's gaze didn't waver. Oh, I came by it legally, all right. In fact, I'd say this whole place owes me. Daniels crossed his arms. And why is that? Jeremiah reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded, yellow document. He laid it on the counter. Because this bank, the land it's sitting on, it all belongs to me. Daniel's face contorted with confusion. He hesitated before unfolding the document, his eyes scanning the ancient ink. As he read, his face paled. Jessica and Derek leaned in, trying to make sense of the paper. The document was a deed, a legally binding deed dated 1912. And the name on it? Jeremiah Thompson. Daniel's throat went dry. This can't be right. Jeremiah smiled. Oh, it's right. My father bought this land back, when banks wouldn't even let black folks walk to the front door. But we held on to it. And when the city grew, your people came knocking, offering us a deal. My family leased this land to Lincoln Savings and Trust under a 100-year agreement. He leaned in, his eyes gleaming with a quiet triumph. And guess what, Mr. Daniels? That agreement expired last month. Jessica let out a small gasp. Derek's mouth hung open. The security guard, now fully alert, shifted uneasily. Daniels felt sweat bead at his temples. He flipped through the document again, desperately searching for a loophole, something to discredit this old man. But it was all there in black and white. I suggest you call your legal team, Jeremiah continued, his voice calm but commanding, because as of this moment, this bank is trespassing on my property. Daniel swallowed hard. The weight of the situation hit him all at once. Jeremiah Thompson wasn't just some homeless man. He was their landlord. Daniel stood frozen, gripping the aged deed as if holding on to the last shred of his authority. The bank's legal team was summoned immediately, arriving in a flurry of expensive suits and urgent whispers. Jeremiah Thompson remained calm, his aides with steady fingers tracing the edges of the document he had carried for decades, knowing this moment would one day come. The head of Chase Bank's legal department, Margaret Whitmore, examined the deed. Her expression turned grave as she flipped through old records on her laptop, cross-referencing archived contracts. Then, with a deep sigh, she confirmed the unthinkable. Mr. Daniels, she said carefully, this deed is valid. Mr. Thompson is the rightful owner of the land this bank sits on. The lease agreement expired last month. That means Chase Bank is currently operating on his property, illegally. A stunned silence filled the bank lobby. Jessica and Derek exchanged nervous glances. The security guard looked like he wanted to disappear. Jeremiah folded his arms. Now, since y'all have been so kind, he said, voice laced with sarcasm, I'll give you some options. Option 1. Chase Bank could renegotiate a new lease with terms he dictated. And given how they had treated him, he'd be charging them through the nose. Option 2. They could vacate the premises immediately. And I don't mean next month, next week, or tomorrow. Jeremiah continued. I mean today. Pack it up, shut it down, and get out. Daniels, pale and visibly sweating, tried to stammer out a counteroffer, but Jeremiah wasn't interested. You disrespected me the moment I walked in here. Y'all judged me by my clothes, my skin, and my age. You laughed at me. Now look who's laughing. Whitmore, recognizing the bank had no legal ground to stand on, whispered something into Daniel's ear. Reluctantly, Daniels nodded. Mr. Thompson, he said stiffly, on behalf of Chase Bank, I apologize for the misunderstanding. We would like to negotiate a new lease. Jeremiah tilted his head. Oh, now you want to talk business? Funny how that works. He leaned in. But I ain't interested. I gave you a chance to treat me like a human being. You failed. Now you can get off my land. Daniel's jaw clenched. You can't just... Oh, I can, Jeremiah interrupted. Margaret, would you kindly remind these fine folks what happens when someone is operating on private property without a valid lease? Margaret adjusted her glasses. Legally, Mr. Thompson can have Chase Bank forcibly removed with immediate effect. If we don't comply, we could face a lawsuit. Daniels knew he had lost. With a reluctant nod, he ordered his staff to start closing up. Customers watched in shock as employees hurriedly packed their belongings. Jessica and Derek, still in disbelief, were among the last to leave. As they passed Jeremiah, he gave them a slow, knowing smile. Reckon next time you'll think twice before judging someone by their looks. News spread like wildfire. Asterisk homeless man turns out to be bank's landlord. Shuts it down. Asterisk was a headline plastered all over the local papers and news channels. Jeremiah didn't just evict Chase Bank. He turned the property into something far greater. A month later, in the very same building, a new establishment opened. Thompson Community Bank, a black-owned financial institution dedicated to helping minorities and underprivileged individuals secure loans and build generational wealth. As for Daniel, Jessica, and Derek, Chase Bank relocated them to a smaller branch across town, one that lacked the prestige and luxury they had once enjoyed. Daniel soon resigned, his reputation in shambles. Jessica and Derek, no longer feeling untouchable, were forced to reflect on their prejudice. Jeremiah Thompson, once laughed at and dismissed, had the last word. Not only did he reclaim what was his, but he also turned it into something even greater. And that, he thought with satisfied smile, was the real gold he had carried all along. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, made you think, or opened your eyes to a hidden truth, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Hit like, subscribe, and share your opinions in the comments below. Your voice matters, and together, we can uncover more powerful stories that deserve to be told. Stay tuned. There's so much more to explore.